During 2000, I was a secondee to the Sydney Olympic Organising Committee, working for the stadium team and essentially helping SOCOG based on the fact that I'd had a little bit of experience operating in the building prior to the Games.
At the time I was the venue operations manager for Stadium Australia, reporting to our now CEO, Daryl Carey.
So I started about 2 years before the Olympics. The company that I was working for won the contract to cater for the Athletes Village, and we basically started straight away.
The lead up was our involvement, getting us to, I guess, match day for the Olympics. So as I said, we've had 2 years of rehearsals and Olympic style events.
I was involved in the assets and technical service component and also a logistics role. So we assisted and supported. We did some on-field stuff, and also we behind the scenes preparing for the Olympics and Paralympic Games.
Our first real event that we did here, which was a public event, was what we called the Great Stadium Walk, and which allowed the general public to actually come into the venue. And that's really the first time that we saw what it could do, what a clever venue it was, how well it had been built.
So it was just a great camaraderie, a great vibe, and everyone was just in a good frame of mind, party atmosphere, but also they were here for business to see Australians win some medals. It was tremendous pressure, but things worked really well. And you hear people say even now that trains ran well and the roads went well, and it was true. Things ran well. They'd done a terrific job.
My role sort of allowed me to do a lot of different things throughout the Games. Examples being escorting Herb Elliott to the point at which outside the stadium he was taking his turn to bring the torch in for the lighting of the cauldron. And in following Herb into the stadium, I actually dropped his tracksuit pants. So I had to run a couple of 100 metres back the other way to recover them and save him the ignominy of having to wear a pair of shorts around a suite while the opening ceremony was on. I think it was something Herb was quite grateful for, but I still don't think he remembers my name.
Just the simple task of mowing was about a 6-hour job, because you had to put that much track protection down. Everything was about the track for the Olympics, like it was all about the track, and they're very meticulous. They had guys doing weekly inspections and going over the fine-tooth comb, and we would have to put a plastic layer down, geofabric and plywood just to push a wheelbarrow across it.
So in the village there was 15,000 people. So there's about 10,000 athletes and about 5,000 officials. So the whole concept was it was 24 hours a day, anything you wanted. And at any one time in the kitchen alone there was 160 people.
I had spent probably months and months in the lead up to the opening ceremony, occasionally working the night shift to be here when the ceremonies were actually rehearsing. And I had seen the cauldron go up and down, I don't know how many times, but a lot. So on the night of the ceremony it was pretty exciting. We were in a bunker looking through everything just through CCTV, so I wasn't actually in the arena itself. But I was watching when Cathy Freeman came out to obviously light the cauldron. I watched the big cauldron lift, doing everything that it had been doing. I watched it start to go up, and then I watched it stop. And the reason I knew there was a problem because there was a shudder suddenly that I hadn't seen before. And I have to say at the time I felt completely, I think I was going to pass out. I felt really unwell. And what was only sort of 3 minutes just felt like about 3 hours. But when I look back on it now, and lots of people didn't even know there was a problem, they just thought that that's how it was meant to be. But I just thought Cathy Freeman was amazing because there was nothing in her face to suggest that there was a problem. So who was ever talking in her ear in terms of stage management, and the orchestra kept on playing, it was like the Titanic going down, but nothing stopped, was just incredible. And but you can feel a bit doom and gloom of what would happen if it hadn't got started, but it did, and it didn't really matter in the end because it was perfect.
People often say that we do it deliberately. I either call it coincidence. We run to a time schedule, which all events do, and all the rehearsals had set times. So we would set the water And look, they'll always take the mickey, especially all the entertainment guys and the rehearsals. So I remember there was the major stage piece for the Olympics was set up, and we were told they'd be off the field by 11. I said, well, that's okay because water will be coming on 11. They all agreed, and the water came on and they weren't off the field. So I'd say that's their fault for not keeping to the time schedule. We've been let know that, I'd said yearly, I guess, since how we wet the major part of the stage. And of course the key, he shall remain nameless, the key entertainer and the guy doing all the choreography was very excitable.
There's a great story about the process of opening the exit gates just after Cathy Freeman had lit the cauldron. And we found that at that time so many volunteers were interested in seeing that bit of history unfolding as well. So there was a process where myself and a colleague, Sue Max, were on radio, on phone, running me around the eastern side of the stadium, opening just about every exit gate in the place so that we could make sure people could get out safely. And it was done without the help of any volunteers who were obviously watching what was going on inside the seating bowl.
The athletes' menu has evolved basically since the Olympics began, and each time something gets added on. So all the organising committees get together and the base is built, and then they decide they want to add something on there. Like one of the things that got us was we had to do 4 or 5 different types of rice because one country wouldn't accept that it wasn't their rice, it was another country's rice. There was an allocation of so many African dishes, so many Asian dishes. It was a massive compromise to get, I think I think at the time it was 182 countries and territories or something like that had to agree that this was the menu and not get exactly what they wanted, but be happy with what they got.
We were watching in-house monitors and we heard that Jane was doing really well and she was leading by a significant margin, and she had 2 penalty paddles presented to her, 3 paddles you're out. And so we made our way to the ramp which leads into the stadium to cheer her on. It wasn't long when we were standing and she started coming down, and she looked strong and she was really walking, and all of a sudden 3rd paddle. And she just turned to like spaghetti, half-cooked spaghetti, and she just lost all form and just collapsed on the pavement next to the road, and it was just tragic. It's just really sad. It's really sad to think about it now. Just know how hard she would have worked and how much effort. So we reached over and tried to reach out through an office of support, but what can you do? It's just, it's too tragic. It's funny because when I'm driving out of the night, there's a blue line that runs through Sydney that has the marathon line that the runners and the walkers follow, and that blue line, you can still see it if you know what you're looking for. And I often wonder what Jane's doing and how she's going. I'm sure she's a success.
One of the ones that sticks in my mind is the Federal Police coming to visit me, because McDonald's has been a sponsor for the Olympics for a long time, and there's always a McDonald's outlet in the athletes' village. And it doesn't exist now, but the old Ronald McDonald seat with Ronald sitting at used to be in the front of McDonald's. And the guy at the Olympics just wouldn't sit still. He kept moving. So he would move to park. He would move. I think at one stage he was in one of the Canadians' domes. And I distinctly remember the Federal Police, and this Federal policeman trying to keep a serious face while he's asking me, had we seen or did we know anything about Ronald McDonald and his whereabouts?
It was a funny thing because everyone was waiting for something to happen. Like you're briefed like nearly daily about the importance of keeping this intact. And really, everyone used to walk around with a rag in their pocket, wiping every bit of dust or grime, and it was quite a bit of a laugh. One of my boys, my young guys, threw up on the track on the 100-metre straight. So that was a humorous moment.
Yeah, I think one of the great things about our organisation, our company, is that there's in key positions there have been some people who have stood the test of time and really worked hard to make sure this place, this building and the team that runs it is a well-oiled machine, and I think that combination of youthful exuberance that we see coming through the ranks now, and also that great experience that we've garnered over the last 20 years has really formed a terrific sense of team and a sense of commitment around making the best of whenever we open our gates to people who purchase tickets to come and enjoy events.
I always thought that I wasn't good enough to play sport on a high level. This is the next best thing, being involved and being around it and seeing some clutch moments.
One thing about this place, it's never boring. We're never finished, and there's always new challenges, there's new stuff coming all the time. So that's what keeps you invigorated, is keep your tenacity.
And for mine, being able to work in the biggest stage of all, at the Olympic Stadium, albeit in a reasonably small role, was pretty exciting to sort of think about as I got to work each day.
I never expected that I'd be here, and definitely not 20 years later.
Just like working, as a part of a major family. I didn't think 21 years later I would still be here, but it's been a really hard place to leave because of the people. Every day is a little different. We've held some of the best events, not just in Australia but in the world, that have been here over the last 21 years. So there's been nowhere else that I've really wanted to go other than just to be here. It's been amazing.